Theatripa here, and I am joined by the lovely random minion caster. You'll notice we've dressed appropriately as the minions on the Rift, and I'm expecting it to be a game where we're going to be focusing heavily on what's happening there because these are two large teams about to clash.
For sure. I mean, these teams, world-class hunters, and Team Sdrawkcab, better known as Team Backwards here, both of them undefeated in the Ocean Division right now. So one of these teams will have to walk away from their undefeated record.
And it's so much more than that as well, because as you mentioned, and we've talked a little bit about these teams beforehand, there are a lot of teams competing right now and a lot of efforts to get to the top. And normally you see that ending up in different play styles, but that's not the case here, is it?
No, not at all. Interestingly enough, both these teams actually have fairly similar play styles, even some overlapping champion pools as well. Both teams like to play through their respective ADCs. Spice Life here for world-class hunters, and for Team Backwards, Tiari. So both of them like to send their focus down there. Both their junglers have some very interesting champion pools, very unusual, unorthodox champions coming out the jungle as well. Their mid laners, passive, a little bit, looking to farm, looking to make more moves in team fights than lanes as well. So really a head-to-head clash of the same style here.
And now, here's what I wonder, right? As these teams prepare for each other, do we see a diversion from that? Do we see a full investment into that bot side? Because as you mentioned, the junglers are also another option. There's so much untapped potential on the Rift, but being a traditionalist of League of Legends myself, I learned bot lane's the most important. You always play through bot lane. The tank meta's never suited me where you had to get them super ahead. I really, really like the idea that when we get to these team fights, there are two people to be looking at, and they're going to be the ones in the back.
Yeah, and speaking of that bot lane meta right now, the world seems to have switched mostly to a top lane meta, and both these teams, the top laners as well, play similar styles. They both like to play bruisers, not so much like the hard carries like the Jacks or maybe the Fioras. They can, however, play more like carry-oriented like Rumble or Camille, but so far in the league thus far, they've played 5 games each year, and it's been more bruisers like Set and tanks like Ornn and Shen as well. So we maybe might see top lane carry, probably not, but it's still an option that is definitely on the table here.
I've got my fingers crossed because, top lane carries are also really good at shutting down AD carries. The problem is it's so much harder to play around that lane, especially when you're used to peeling for a ranged carry, because there's a totally different skill set that goes into protecting somebody who needs to be right in the opposition's face. And normally we see a lot more things, things like caster supports and that come up. We will be getting into pro draft rather soon, though, so we'll see how the teams choose to prioritize whether we see something more like a top lane carry.
Yeah, for sure. And, speaking of the casters as well, in the bot lane, the caster supports, like I mentioned, both these supports do play caster supports. Morgana, played by both of them, have been chosen before. So will definitely be something that we can look and see whether they will contest that particular pick here.
And things like Morgana, Lulu, and even Karma to an extent can be so irritating. To me, it's specifically Morgana and Lulu I ban almost every game because of their ability to shut down exactly what you want to do. The Black Shield, the Polymorph are both huge counter abilities that actually bring a lot of impact in these team fights to the support role, specifically with both of these players playing Morgana, who also gives lane priority. I think we see some really contested picks, not only around AD carry, but more around support as well.
Yeah, the AD carry role is particularly hard to ban out. Tiari so far has played 5 different champions in 5 different games, so we're not seeing a lot of overlap. It's very, very hard to ban him out. On the other side, Spice Life, though, his champion pool has not shown to be quite as diverse for now. He has picked Jhin 3 out of his 5 games, and we are now in draft, so we'll have to see what they opt to ban and what they opt to pick.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting to see, where the target bans come in, whether we see something more like shutting down a different lane, maybe looking to play through it. Right now, top jungle bans so far with the Hecarim and the Kled. Kled, a little bit of an unorthodox ban, though.
Yeah, and Kled, that's just that Hermie. Hermie did play Kled, I believe, week 1 and did really, really well on it. It was last week, that he did pick the Kled, and it did a lot of damage. The Hecarim, not so much a top ban. That's more targeted at Cold Dream in the jungle there. It is one of the junglers that he's played quite a bit, I believe twice, 2 out of 5 games, and it's actually his most played jungler because he hasn't duplicated a jungler since.
Yeah, I really wish that we did see more Hecarim top, very quickly touching on that, just because I think it's a really interesting neutralizing lane into a lot of top lane bullies right now. But because it is banned, we're instead going to get what is another pretty neutral lane right now. Used to be a bully, now is that set locked in.
Yeah, and set here for World Class Hunters, that is a flex pick. Both Ahop and Hermie have played it, so it's a really solid, safe first pick. And backwards, I mean, Renekton right now is a lot more respected than he used to be. I especially like the fact they picked the Renekton after they banned the Quinn. Quinn is actually the most banned champion against Team Backwards here, but it's also the hardest counter for Renekton. So now that it got banned by World Class Hunters, Backwards feels comfortable. Let's draft ourselves that Renekton.
Yeah, for the fact that it's taken away, and by the opposition, no less, World Class Hunters taking that one away themselves means that backwards they're enabled, and they grab themselves the Morgana too. Very high value in that bot lane, which is exactly what we were looking at. They've grabbed themselves a high priority support, while at the same time securing themselves what should be priority in the top lane.
But likewise, they have left that Jhin open, and that is something that Spice Life has looked at a lot. The Morgana Black Shield, great to try and stop the snare, the root coming out of Jhin, but doesn't stop any of the damage. Curtain Call can come through, the force shot will still proc, so Jhin has been often picked into the Morgana as a bit of a safe pick, but instead it looks like they might just be trolling us. We'll have to see what they decide to lock in here. It will be the Olaf, so it looks like they've selected their mid and potentially jungle as well.
There should absolutely be a jungle. Are we getting confirmation that it was Jhin? It just might be here.
Oh, so yeah, it's the Echo.
Okay, fascinating. Yeah, so because we have the actual Jhin locked in as well, I think it's also interesting to point out that Morgana very effective into all three of these champions. And then the Samira pickup for backwards is we talked about this a little bit before the game. Gonna bring a little bit of spice to the game here.
Yeah, the Desert Rose. I mean, the newest champion on the Rift. I'm actually a big fan of Samira, not in the bot lane, but in the mid lane instead. So that being said, Samira is supposed to be an ADC. Her kit feels just so loaded right now. They had to hot nerf her within days of her coming out. That was how strong her kit was initially here. So very excited to see it. And so far, Backwards is drafting a very aggressive lane dominant composition with that Renekton, the Morgana Samira here so far. So I'm liking what I see out of Backwards, and I'm really curious what they draft in the jungle and the mid lane as well, because their jungler Coldream did play Ivern in week 1, and honestly, a supportive jungler with this sort of composition would not be a bad idea at all.
That could actually be a really, really good look. There's the potential, like you said, for the Samira flex, although I think that really as a compositional thing, it doesn't take away from that Ivern in any way. The only thing that I would be a little bit worried about is perhaps the tempo into Olaf, because we see Ivern picked so infrequently that I'm not necessarily familiar with how good he is at taking away picks from these junglers. And it looks like we're going to get the chance to find out.
Either I'm psychic or they are listening to us right as we speak here, because it is going to be the Ivern lock-in. And I'm actually super excited for this. So Ivern is one of those supportive junglers we so rarely see. Like, what's the tank meta, and then it became the carry jungle meta. And we never really saw the Ivern support meta really come in. But Ivern is great because he can give buffs to his teammates while securing them for himself, and he gives sort of tankiness utility to the team as well. So now you've basically got a double support composition for Samira, for Renekton. Renekton's already hard enough to kill when he gets a hit. Imagine now a Dominus Renekton charging in with the Black Shield, with some buffs from Ivern as well, with Daisy following as well, and it's just a nightmare. Likewise with Samira going in, just using her ultimate, and she can just pop that over and over again as long as you don't kill her.
Yeah, and starting at level 6, Renekton's just going to get a red buff for, no reason. And he's playing into now what is confirmed to be a set in the top side, who is not going to have an easy time against Renekton. Very, very powerful champion is the set, but is not a lane bully to the level that Renekton is. Sylas being the last lock-in for Backwards as well to answer the Orianna in the mid lane. I like the versatility of the Sylas, but other than that, I'm a little bit concerned about the way he fits into the composition. Isn't as good with the Ivern.
Yeah, a little bit not so much a synergy, but the nice thing about Sylas is that technically he can fit in any composition depending on what your opponents pick here. And with so many big ultimates he can pick up on the side of World Class Hunters, the Ragnarok coming out, the Showstopper potentially coming out, the Orianna Shockwave as well. Even the Echo, the Chrono Break, you can just get right back out of there. I actually really like the pick considering how many big ultimates we're seeing on the side of World Class Hunters. And more importantly, it's going to be the lane matchup here for the side of Crazy 23. Can he pop off on the Sylas against Orianna? Because I think that's the goal here for his Sylas pick.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a counter matchup, right? They've saved that last pick here for the Sylas, and Sylas very, very good into the Orianna if you can manage it properly. The ability to close the gap, keep Orianna under pressure, and heal immense amounts is going to be very hard for her to deal with. And specifically, we're going to find out whether Big Daddy Colton, whether he is up to the challenge of taking into his hands what he's otherwise used to being a very passive lane, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's gonna have to try and, well, he can just look to farm up really and not really so much make the plays. He's looking more at the Olaf at the set here to really start things off, and he's got the ball delivery system with that showstopper when set goes hopping in there, or if Olaf just goes charging in. The Olaf's only real hard counter is basically just straight damage, because you can't Ragnarok death. It's the one CC that you can't stop. So you put the shield on Olaf, you let Reels just go running in with that Olaf there. You don't really need to make the plays. You can just sit back and farm up here. Instead, it's going to be more about trying to neutralize the damage across the lanes here from World Class Hunter, because you look at who they've got. They've got somewhat better scaling. It's kind of weird to say this, but they kind of do have a bit of a safe scaling lane on that Jhin, because if Jhin gets high in terms of damage, he can just pop Samira before she can really do anything there. Likewise, topside set will outscale Renekton. Renekton is that famous early game sort of top lane champion. So they don't necessarily have to be the ones to make the early moves, whereas backwards does need to make moves on the Renekton, on the Samira. If Samira gets behind, the game gets incredibly rough for her.
Yeah, name of the game is going to be early for backwards, and with something like this, Ivern, it starts transitioning into that mid game as well. Around the level 6 to 11 mark is sort of the latest that I think we have to see proactivity out of these players. And with a jungler like Ivern, sometimes it can be a little bit hard to be proactive. This has to be a composition they've practiced, because otherwise you're going to get to a mid game, and yes, you're going to be very strong, but it's not like World Class Hunters don't have answers to that. They have mid-game picks themselves in the Zyra and the Olaf.
Yeah, they've got a ton of potential AoE team fight damage in this composition as well, with the Orianna, with the Zyra, because you're going to have to run through a Shockwave, run through those Stranglethorns as well. It's going to be risky for those engages. Backwards has tools to look for flanks, and really they could even flank with the Samira, with the Renekton, with the Sylas. All of them really can sort of flank. But yeah, it's very interesting, because we talked about how these teams like to play similar styles to their ADC. Well, their composition this game one is completely different from each other here.
Yeah, and I expected it to be both, tanks in the top lane, AD carries, hyperscalers in the bot lane, and we're still going to get an explosive game, but it is not the traditional type of explosive, especially from backwards here, who have drafted themselves a very aggressive composition. And I don't want to curse this, but I've yet to see a Samira actually win a game or win a lane. A lot of the times when I see Samira picked in coordinated play, in tournament play, it becomes very much a game of, well, we don't know what this champion does, but we're going to invest a lot of resources in making sure that it never sees the light of day. And I'm worried for backwards here, because it could end up in a similar situation where there's just a lot of pressure put on Samira with things like the Olaf and the laning potential of the Jhin. Zyra are going to bring a lot of damage, and Samira's relatively short range.
Yeah, she is, definitely. And actually, Tiari actually has played Samira and won here in the Upsurge Junior League just last week, game 1, against No Fear Esports Nova. He pulled it off, but that was with the Taric support, where you've got that Cosmic Radiance, and you can then go invincible and just charge in and survive. Morgana is not quite the same here. The Black Shield's great, yes, but it's not invincibility. So your concerns here, extremely valid against the likes of a set that can just showstopper him right back out. Orianna, again, that ball so dangerous. And as we said, Olaf, right? Like, Samira is short range. She needs to get in there. Well, Olaf would be more than happy to get up in your face as well, return the favor with access to your face. And it might just come down to who's got more damage. And that being said, we can't forget the rest of backwards, though, because they're not going to let Tiari go in alone. I'm sure Famster Bro will be right there with him, covering his back there, and Crazy as well on the Sylas, I'm sure, will be charging in as well.
Damage is something that we are not lacking this game, especially from the side of backwards. We're going to get into the game in just a few moments, as we're going to take a break for a short word from our sponsors and then get you guys onto the Rift. If you're looking to take your game to the next level, it all starts with peripherals. From keyboards to keycaps, mice, and more, our friends at Kono have got you covered. Kono works with the world's best designers, investors, and makers to bring you some of the best gaming peripherals around. Now, Kono have been huge supporters of us here at Upsurge and have made generous contributions to our prize pools. If you need to find a new keyboard, check out the Hexgears X1 RGB low-profile Bluetooth mechanical keyboard. You can use the discount code UpsurgeGG for 7% off your first order. For more information, head over to kono.store to check out all that they have to offer. That's KONO.store. Kono. Discover amazing products. Nice. Welcome back to the Rift, ladies and gentlemen. As promised, we're bringing you the first game of World Class Hunters here versus Backwards, actually spelled backwards for those of you who haven't seen the team before, which caught me off guard the first few times I read it. I don't know about you, Random Minion, but it was a real trip here.
Yeah, I definitely didn't see that one coming. I mean, with players like crazy on the team, not super surprising. We are seeing a bit of an invade kind of here.
Yeah, looking to get even crazier than the game already looks to be. Lots of, like we called out, early game pressure on the side of Backwards, looking to be turned around with a 5-man invade. Doesn't find anything except for a little bit of vision here. Going to be very powerful into the Ivern.
Yeah, and Ivern's weakest point is his early game here. He's an absolutely abysmal duelist and needs the help of his lane. So Rio's definitely going to have a real fun time here on the Olaf, just charging in. And there's very little that Cold Dream can do except just walk away. So that vision's going to be really, really important to be able to just track out where Cold Dream is. And for the side here of Backwards, they actually want to be able to track where Rios is as well, because Cold Dream does not want to run into him by accident.
Yeah, it's going to be tracking on both sides, but for the opposite reason, right? Reels, he wants to get into that jungle, wants to find Cold Dream in the tree. He sees a guy with axes, and he's like, no, please, man, keep him out of my jungle. They're going to hopefully spot out the Olaf there with the ward on the red side themselves and be able to keep their Ivern safe.
Yeah, and one thing we kind of didn't talk about as well was the Ivern Renekton synergy. Renekton right now usually picked with an AP jungler such as Elise or Nidalee here. Ivern somewhat serves a similar purpose and he does AP damage, but he really doesn't bring that much damage. More than anything else, he's set up to allow Renekton to continue just sitting on top of Hermie or Reels or whoever they decide to sort of go after there. So Coldream really going to be that support CC bot on his ganks.
It's so hard to get somebody off you, especially a bruiser, when Ivern is on them, and I think you're exactly right to call that out. And the other thing that I want to talk about before it actually becomes an issue, somebody that we haven't been able to discuss yet, is Daisy, because she's going to be that sixth man or sixth being on the Rift that is going to contribute actually quite a bit to the tankiness, to the bruiser, I want to say, value of backwards.
Yeah, and usually, one of the benefits of Daisy is having that extra tank here, but for the side of backwards, they don't need another tank. What they are basically doing is throwing another body into the fray to continue adding to the chaos, because the more chaos there is, the safer Tiari will be when he goes in on this Samira here and tries to use that Inferno trigger. The more bodies you can just put on top of Tiari and make it harder to click on Tiari, the better it's going to be for backwards in these massive team fights.
Yeah, it's just going to be a game. It's kind of like Control Wards with the Thresh Lantern, where you just throw a bunch of people on him and go, okay, death ball, he doesn't get hurt because nobody can click on him. That's actually going to be really big if somebody like Spice Life can't find the autos when they matter because of a massive bodies. It's a legitimate strategy that we could look for backwards.
Yeah, completely. We do see now Coldream having cleared the scuttle, looking for some action here.
Yeah, wants to try and harass out this Orianna. You mentioned the counter matchup here, and as much as it isn't panning out in the early phase, that's not why you pick it. It's going to be much later that the Sylas starts to become effective, and trying to get that snowball started early, I don't want to say that's misintentioned.
No, I mean, the thing is, he just wants to throw a gank in. Ivern actually ganks pretty well, and besides, at that point in time, Ivern had just cleared the scuttle. He needed to go to the top side of the map. Why not? We are seeing an invade coming out of Rios as well, but there's nothing to clear. That's one of the things about Ivern is you do need to track him. If you leave him alone, it doesn't work, and topside, the root does land.
Ooh, yeah, very nice long-range Q there. Gets everybody on top of set here. Looking for another Call the Meek, but the Haymaker Flash gonna buy space and time with this shield, and Hermie, he gets out alive just barely.
And that is disgusting there, what that gang did. And that's what we're talking about, the CC chain. Coldream just comes in, he's providing support. Famster's doing tons of damage. One thing I did really like about how Coldream played that was the way he put down those bushes, because Ivern's passive, he becomes ranged when he's in a bush. So by putting down those bushes the way he did, he gains additional range. Great flash from Herbie to stay alive, and Coldream looking like he wants more here.
He's here for a counter gank as well. He doesn't know it yet, but the Olaf is in the top side. Depending on if backwards choose to stay around, Hermie went super low there, so I'd be surprised if we see what is an attempted 2v2, but here comes Reels. He wants to get the early levels for the Olaf to their maximum effectiveness. He sees two, though, sees Hermie's health bar, and he decides better of it.
Yeah, and honestly, I think that was the right play there from Reels. That is a risky 50-50, and odds are First Blood would go the way of backwards. Not to mention, they're gaining leads in CS right now. They don't have to accelerate the pace of game. So rather than waiting around looking for a counter gank, I think it makes sense. Reels just shows up, says, hey, I'm here. You don't want any of this. Go away so that I can go back to farming in my jungle as well. And, we can just all reset. So I think great play from Reels there.
Yeah, a little bit of a gentleman's handshake there is going to be really the name of the game, because it keeps everybody from having to take these unnecessary duels. We're all passive folks, much like the Ivern here, and right now Olaf being around this dragon, looking to at least get something on the board for himself, as Kyle, he's picked up the Moby Boots as well.
Yeah, that Moby Boots, he's going to be everywhere that much faster, but one place he won't be at is that first Drake, which is definitely going to go the way here of world-class hunters, because first of all, they're there early, and besides, if you look at the lanes as well, Crazy has just been shoved in all early game. I mean, somewhat expected. You've got the range versus melee matchup. Sylas might counter Orianna later, but it is later, not immediately. And bot lane, they're shoving in, and now with that shove, with those minions, we could see a dive.
There are 4 people here. Tiari, he's under half health. Level 6 is hit by Colton, and teleport's going to be channeled, but I don't think it's going to be enough. Dash away isn't going to save the life of the AD carry. Night Warden, he's trying to live for as long as he can. Shockwave shockwave from Crazy. Gonna keep Reels under the tower for just a little bit longer. It's a trade of 1 for 2. Crazy forced to flash away now. Big Daddy Colton doesn't have the mana to following up, but there's the flash. Strangle Thorns into the autos is going to be just enough for A-Hop to claim that kill. And now we'll see if we can get the dashes on in the top line, but it looks like Hermes escaped with his life, and the bot side goes all world-class hunters.
And world-class hunters here, they get so much, so smoothly. They rotate to the dragon. They get the dragon. They don't even lose many minions mid. You can see that the wave just started pushing in because Big Daddy Colton just shoved that wave in, roamed immediately. Their bot lane, A-Hop and Spice Life, have been absolutely dominant in the bot lane as well. That Morgana pick is not working out anywhere near as well as they had hoped. The Zyra pick just punishing anytime Tiari tries to go in. And the Jhin damage as well. The Samira just not able to trade in, and it's looking not so great for the Samira pick so far.
Yeah, and that's the power of the shove in the mid lane, and it's exactly what we had mentioned just previously, right? So many teams, they see the Samira and they go, not on my Rift. We saw world-class hunters, they pull the exact same move. They get into the bot side, they take Tiari off the map. Yes, he backs on a BF sword, but it is just that.
I mean, he will come back with the BF sword, and one thing to note is Tiari's not at level 6. So the reason why Samira is so scary is that ultimate here, which originally actually had no cooldown whatsoever on it. I do believe it now has a scaling 3 to 1 second ultimate cooldown as Samira levels up. So once we hit level 6, that's Tiari's window here to try and make plays. And he kind of has to, because he's been falling behind in lane, in pressure. If they continue to fall behind, Ivern is not the type of jungler who will be able to come in and just turn things around for you.
Yeah, Ivern very much a win more champion, because he's very much an enchanter support that doesn't actually get to be with you during the lane phase. His focus this game has been towards the top side, and we see it paying off in small pressure for Famster, but when we look at the CS, it actually feels like world-class hunters are doing pretty well for themselves.
Yeah, for sure. And they're not only just winning in the macro movements, they have been winning in lane as well. Hermes been doing really well in the top lane so far. I mean, Renekton is considered sort of a counter to set in lane, actually. And the fact that Hermes doing so well into Famster, is able to farm perfectly well, hasn't died a single time, hasn't been pushed off. That means he won that lane. Mid lane, Big Daddy Colton is flat out winning that. The CS looks even now, but you have to remember, Big Daddy Colton roamed down to the bot lane, did not use teleport. Crazy had to use teleport to match. So he technically got back to lane first and, well, kind of did, or got more minions, pardon me, in lane first, and he's only barely even in that bot lane. That 10 CS differential here, that's just Spice Life, like, continuing to exert his dominance. Picked up Swifty boots as well, so Tiari's gonna have a hard time trying to catch up now to the likes of Spice Life.
Yeah, and that advantage is going to start to stack up, especially because we talked about how backwards they want this mid-game composition, but remember that on the other side, it's been answered by an Olaf, and first dragon, it's already gone down.
Yep, and there is still Herald on the map here. We are seeing Cold Dream actually solo it here with a great use of Daisy, dropping Daisy there, using the push to get range. I love seeing that tactic, and there's no vision to catch that, but bot side, couldn't call.
Yeah, Tiari's in a lot of trouble. It looks like Night Warden wants to tank up for him. They can't live through all 4 shots here, but there's the wind wall from Tiari. And, ooh, flash port from Spice Life wants to secure the kill. Doesn't manage to get the root right afterwards. Burns the flash out of Tiari. The flash and heal used in the bot side. And importantly, the bot lane of backwards have to back all the way off.
Yeah, and Tiari actually had to flash, or well, didn't have to, but did flash in place to dodge out that shot of the current call there. Does leave him alive, but he will now be out of Summoner's complete mid lane.
Hey, Crazy, he just goes down. Very nice awareness there. Ooh, and also in the top lane, Haymaker almost takes down Famster. I don't think it's going to be enough of the shield from the Ivern, going to secure the Renekton's life. And Big Daddy Colton in the mid lane comes up huge. It's a trade of 1 for 1, but one of them is a solo kill.
Yeah, and they're going to drop Shelly in the top lane as well to boot, get themselves some plate, because they very desperately need it. The bot lane turret is only down to 1 plate here, so if they don't get the plate in the top, if they don't take the first turret in the top lane, they could very well lose it to first class hunters in the bot lane there. And what a burst of action across the map. You know, we had just been praising Hermie for surviving the early game aggression, but now Cold Dream level 6 with Daisy coming in to throw back up for Hamster Bro. If Ivern CC isn't enough, well, Daisy's certainly will. We're seeing a TP into the bot lane here.
Teleport Tiari, he should be absolutely dead here. Colton has arrived, doesn't have the shockwave this time. Olaf is in here as well, but has walked through the turret and goes way too low to follow up. Teleport in with the Renekton as well. Famster, he looks for a kill, but can't find it. He gets rooted up by the Zyra. The Renekton gets kited out, and Spice Life picks up a kill.
And cue the sad croc montage. Famster, bro, all alone. His entire team just running away there. And I don't know if that was a communication error or whether Famster just made a mistake, but Night Warden is getting their back stopped here.
Yeah, looks like he got caught out a little bit. Shockwave not going to pull him back in because of the black shield. It is going to force him to back all the way off, though. And there's the first tower that you were talking about, the danger of it before. Looks like it's becoming a reality very quickly for backwards.
Yeah, and so once again, world-class hunters, they gank the bot lane and they go for Dragon. They've reversed the order a little bit this time, but their dominance on the bottom side of the map right now is absolutely huge. And like I said, they don't take that top side turret for the side of backwards. They are going to lose first turret here as the bot lane turret goes down. And the gold lead has now grown to a 3.5 or just shy of a 3,500 gold lead, where world-class hunters is just looking real scary here.
And they're looking very scary, but additionally, they're looking so controlled. This is not the aggressive team composition like backwards have that you expect to be explosive and popping off everywhere. Everywhere that world-class hunters go, their advantages have been calculated. They have been numbers advantages into objective advantages, and right now, looks like Hermie, he's caught out a little bit, but Reels is here as well. This is the first time we don't have a numbers advantage, and it looks like it's going to spell the death of the set, but he gets one back. Dream goes down as well. Reels is chasing because Ahop, he has the roots, wants to buy time. No flash on him means he can't get involved just yet. Olaf goes so low though. Might go down. Double kill for the Renekton. The Thorns from the Zyra knock everybody up, do a little bit of damage, and end up taking down Crazy. Buys enough time for Spice Life to get involved. Gets himself a double kill. Sits at that 4-0-2 mark. And there is the slow, calculated, and ultimately beneficial play for world-class hunters.
And this is why you ban Jhin against Spice Life. I mean, it's his most played champion in the league so far, and he's showing what a monster it is. 4-0-2, like you said. I hesitate to say he's been quiet in the bot lane, but he hasn't been picking up all that much kills, just putting down a ton of pressure, a ton of turrets. He shows him the top lane, and suddenly Famster, bro, who was winning the top lane, suddenly realizes, hey, I'm not the most fed person on the Rift, and I cannot handle this ADC.
No, he really can't. And it's scary because, I mean, I was watching that play for a while for world-class hunters going, hey, you're running into a losing fight, my friends. It's a numbers disadvantage, but we could see it on the larger map that Spice Life and Ahop, they were just walking in. This is the powerhouse for world-class hunters. Both of these teams, they played through that bot lane. The bot lane, they knew exactly where to be. They rotate up this top side. Bot lane turret is gone, and Tiari, he's having trouble standing up on his own.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the good news, though, for the side of backwards is in that fight, you saw how quickly Reels went down in that fight. Famster, bro, just suddenly turned it around, and Reels went from 60 to 0 in 1 second flat there. So it's not like there aren't points to attack. Reels is still vulnerable. We haven't seen Big Daddy Colton really being focused down either. With no real completed items, the boot's not completed either. That is a potential weak spot that backwards can look towards to try and find some kills. And for Spice Life, I mean, Ahop's been doing a great job just shadowing him the entire game, making sure he's always safe. But if you can get, Famster, bro, a little bit of alone time with Spice Life there, well, maybe things have a very different outcome from that fight.
The coveted alone time for the Crocodile. We might see the dream come true because he's not weak by any means. We saw him pick up a double kill just there. Also has himself already the completed item in the Black Cleaver as well as the Ninja Tabi. The matchup for him would actually go really, really well into the Jhin, and it's just a matter of whether backwards can engineer this type of team fight.
Yeah, but bot side, we are seeing Hermie and Crazy go at it here.
I don't know who wins this fight. It's going to be a trade of ultimates here, potentially, as Flash into the Haymaker almost takes Crazy down. Tiari's joining him as well. Kingslayer going to take down Hermie in the solo kill. This fight is so close, but we end up seeing Crazy come out ahead.
And not only Kingslayer, Tiari flashing in, trying to get the heal off as well to make sure the heal comes in after Hermie's dead. But, I mean, the sentiment was good there. Unfortunately, that leaves Tiari still 0-1-0. No assist on the board. And that's splash and heal down as well. And having seen two people bot, world-class hunter instantly rotate to that Herald. They know, as you said, numbers advantage.
Yeah, and now with the numbers advantage, they're going to be able to force out the dominance, be able to get themselves what looks to be the second Rift Herald of the game. Real's going to pick that one up and maybe look to crack this mid lane turret as well. It's on its last legs.
Yeah, and I mean, they could very well do it, but instead they're going to back off and they might end up losing. Actually, I was going to say they might end up losing top. turret for, but Famster Bro looks like he's just gonna back off here. Probably could have taken that turret. Bot lane's looking kind of close as well, and we have to remember, while there's no turrets taken right now by the side of Backwards, the fact that they've got these low means that it's effectively standing gold, and they can just go and pick those up later for a quick infusion of cash. But since they haven't done it for now, they don't have that gold, but they have started completing their first major items here.
Yeah, first major items, like you said, completed across the board is something that we want to keep an eye on, and something that I want to point out as well. Blade of the Ruined King picked up for Hermie. This is not the team fight set that you will very often see. This is going to be a side lane item as the first completed item, and it looks like he wants to be staying right where he is as Reels wants to contest the dragon.
Yeah, this will be the first big 5v5 team fight we're going to see here, as everybody's here except for Hermie, but he's got a teleport and can always come in real quick.
Night Warden is basically dead. Flashes forward to get the Soul Shackles, and Big Daddy Colton forced to flash away. Gets a two-man shockwave right into the Jhin, and now he's going to be able to walk forward and join this fight with more than just the ultimate. Takes down one, takes down another. Spice Life, he goes unstoppable. Tiari, though, he gets himself a double kill in the back line onto two low members. Spice Life should be able to pick up the last hit, though. Gets the shutdown on the very same AD carry, and World Class Hunters, they're coming out ahead. Caldream, he's still around, still wants this dragon, and it means the World Class, they don't necessarily feel safe starting it up just yet. Spice Life, though, he says, I got this, don't worry.
Yeah, I mean, they don't have a jungler, and Cold Dream is still up. No flash available, but looks like Cold Dream doesn't really want to risk this here. Probably not confident he can make it in. That will be dragon secured by World Class Hunters again, and that's their third consecutive Drake. They are on track to get themselves an Infernal Soul as well. And at the end of that first major team fight that we just saw, it looks like World Class Hunters is not only ahead in their individual lanes, but also in the massive 5v5 team fights.
Yeah, they've gotten themselves what is a 5k gold lead, a little bit more, a little bit less, you know, give or take, as the game will fluctuate. But that gold lead means quite a bit right now because it is mainly inside of the Jhin. It is mainly inside of an entire item and a QSS completed for the main carry of this team.
Yeah, and that's huge. I mean, you can't understate how much a force shot Jhin can do here. Really, no one can fight that Jhin right now. And a lot of times the criticism for Jhin is that he doesn't scale as well as a lot of AD carries. Well, if you're so far ahead, if you're 6-0-3, if you're up about 3,000 gold against your counterpart at 20 minutes, well, guess what? You kind of don't need to scale that well because you'll probably end it before then. And we now are seeing Shelly being dropped into the mid lane. They don't even need it to take that turret. They're just going to let Shelly push in for the inner turret here.
Yeah, kind of an awkward use of the Rift Herald. There is only going to get them a little bit of chunk in the mid lane, but importantly onto the tier 2 is going to open up that pressure for later. Hermie in the top side is going to be able to comfortably duel against Renekton in the meantime, and it feels like World Class Hunters are in control of the map right now.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when you're stronger in your lanes, when you're stronger in the team fight, it's so easy to just control the map. And so far, World Class Hunter has been doing really well with their control. You can see how much vision they've got on the map here. And you contrast that to what Backwards has, and you can see that vision alone speaks volumes of the strength and control on this map. And to be fair to Backwards right now, I'm looking at their composition and thinking, what can they do to get back in the game? Because Tiari can't get in a fight. We saw how patient Hermie was with that showstopper, waited for the moment the Inferno trigger went off. Well, to be fair, it's the second Inferno trigger, but the moment he actually was close enough and saw it go off, he showstopper, shut it down immediately there. So Tiari needs the Black Shield, but Night Warden's so squishy too. Night Warden got chunked out immediately, and you can see they can't even defend a turret because they don't have the range.
Yeah, there's not a lot of range, and importantly there's not a lot of wave clear on the side of Backwards either. On the other side, we have somebody like Big Daddy Colton. You know, if you do start getting behind, you have the wave clear to your name. Right now, not being able to kill these minions is going to be a big problem. We've just crested the 20-minute mark as well.
Yeah, and it feels like we're so much further down into the game because all the outer turrets are down. The mid lane inner is down as well. We're looking a potential soul in the face in about 2 minutes. Baron has spawned. It almost feels like World Class could just rotate over to Baron and pick it up with that Stormrazor, i.e. Jhin, with the Blade of the Ruined King Hermie as well. And I think for the side of Backwards right now, what you kind of need to do is just go full LP out. Start looking for fights non-stop here and look for uneven fights. You actually have 6 people, like you mentioned at the beginning of the game. Daisy is your 6th man. look for those 6v4, 6v3s. Just try and catch out world-class esports, because world-class hunters right now, they are not really grouping up all that much except around objectives. So take advantage of that. Try and find them before they're grouped up. Give up a turret. Nobody cares about the turrets right now. You need some kills, and you need that bounty off of Spife's life to make a comeback.
Well, you really do, and ideally, I want to say that it goes on to Tiari. Crazy's been doing quite well for himself, but because of the way the compositions have worked out, I feel like Tiari gets so much benefit out of additional injected gold because of the snowball potential that somebody like Samir has. Even if it's this late in the game, you're not at those 6 items yet. You can still bounce this carry way ahead of everyone else, and I want to see that rotation over to the Baron come out just so that we get to see these reckless team fights being picked. Backwards, they need something to go in their favor, and right now Night Warden not looking like he has it. Is going to be able to dodge out, though. Fancy Feet gets him away from 2 slows and saves his life.
Yeah, and one thing we have to note as well is last fight, Night Warden started that fight by getting chunked and turning it around, getting a beautiful 2-man soul shackles which forced the flash out, but that required the stopwatch, and that stopwatch has not been upgraded to an hourglass yet. So Night Warden cannot make that hero play in this next fight. And for the side of World Class Hunters, they, rather than splitting up, they're just setting up here for the dragon, for the soul, because they know that Backwards will have to fight them for this.
Yeah, right now, Reels is going to be able to take away all of the jungle, and we see Ahop as well as Spice Life being able to contest, but right now, Olaf the Ragnarok not going to save him for too long through the knockup. Triple shockwave, though, into triple knockup from the Zyra, means that they get to clean up Night Warden, taken down as an afterthought. Ooh. Crazy gets sniped down, and the fight is over before it even justifiably begins.
Yeah, and the curtain call comes down, the lights go out, and it's only Tiari. Tiari not able to get involved in the fight at all here. Literally, I mean, you're an ADC. You're supposed to be at the back putting out damage, but Tiari can't get in range, and they're just going to keep on pushing. They forget Soul they can pick up on the way. They're going to look to just try and take everything they can. They can easily take 2 inhibitors here. The only one coming up right now is Night Warden with Cold Dream to follow in 5 seconds. In 5 seconds time, those inhibitors are already down.
Yeah, world-class hunters, they take the team fight, they take the base, and they take the dragon while they're doing it. And the base being broken means so much. Just earlier, we were talking about how you can give up these towers. Now, you can't.
And I'm just so confused right now. I'm just staring at why they decided to back off. Like, just as I said, they can take both inhibitors. They end up taking neither inhibitor here. They do have Soul, so that's certainly nice for them. And that just makes the next fight that much worse. Baron is still on the table, and right now, world-class hunters, they can just rinse and repeat, right? Like, they won the dragon fight, they won the soul fight without any real soul buff at that point in time, and kind of with a bit of a sketchy situation where it looked like they kind of got caught out a little bit. So if they set up for Baron here with the Inferno Soul, with the gold, with the items they just spent, the gold they got from killing all of Backwards here, the Baron is going to be just a rinse and repeat at this point.
Yeah, and to call what we just saw a fight is a little bit generous. Crazy going to get caught out in the jungle here, but right now doesn't have the dashes to make his escape. We're going to be forced to invest his own flash, and that's one less tool that Backwards have in their pockets here. And it looks like it's going to be one less body too. Ragnarok is popped, as well as the ultimate from the Jhin. They just want this pick, and it looks like they're looking to rectify what was that earlier mistake of not taking the inhibitors.
And to be fair, I mean, it is a safe thing for them to do. Like I said, they win any 5v5, so as long as they group up and go in together, they'll be just fine. They get one inhibitor, the bot lane inhibitor. They can just rotate in for the second open mid lane inhibitor and then go for Baron.
Tiari, he gets chunked to half health there, goes right back in, hasn't gotten himself to that S-level combo yet, and doesn't look like he's going to get a chance to, as Shockwave is invested just to clear a few minions and buy a little bit of space. World-class hunters, they are backing off towards this Baron.
And this is their chance right now. Ragnarok was used by Reels early, trying to kill Crazy. The Showstopper as well. The Command Shockwave, the Curtain Call, all of it's down. The only thing available is the Strangleton. So if you're going to make a play, if you're going to let Tiari go in and pop off on that Inferno trigger, now's the time to do it. And you can see that World Class Hunters recognize that. They're backing off. And without Crazy there, it just looks like they're not doing.
Oh, and Tiari, it looks like he almost gets taken down. The auto going to follow him, but not going to be enough. Athene's is going to be enough from the Ivern to keep him alive, but Night Warden might not be so lucky there. Going to invest the Zanya's Hourglass cooldown. Finally completed that item, and he wants to show it off before the game ends, because otherwise I'm not sure if he finds another more appropriate situation.
Yeah, and unfortunately for them, that's probably going to cost them Baron here because Night Warden's off the map here. You can see Crazy's just complete bot side. They want none of it. Vision-wise, again, I've spoken about Vision, but you look, sure, they've got 2 wards near Baron, but only one seeing anything at all. The other one's suppressed. Other than that, they've got no vision at all. They're not even going to try and contest this. 18-8 right now with a 12,000 gold deficit. I mean, and now Baron on the side of backwards. World Class Hunters. I mean, it's just looking dire for backwards, especially when we said that they had the early game comp to start this off.
It is, and I mean, if just in case we haven't had the chance to do it yet, if you toggle the vision just to what backwards can see, it is literally the lanes and a ward in the river. They have no idea what World Class Hunters are doing, what lane they're going to, until World Class decide that it is time for them to go. Right now, backwards do not have any control of their own jungle, and that makes Ivern's job all the harder. Not a traditionally farming jungler is now going to be put even further and further behind.
Yeah, so it's going to be rough. And right now, backwards, their last chance basically at this point is to try and make a stand in their base under the double turrets. But the problem is to reach that state, you probably, actually, topside.
Yeah, Famstar, he stands no chance here. Gets caught once again by the edge of the shockwaves. Big Daddy Colton, he's been on point with those snipes today, getting everybody just at the very edge of the donut. And now it looks like it's going to end up resulting in what is a nicely forested turret. They're going to pick themselves up a lot of greenery and commit some crimes against Mother Earth here, taking down those very same plants. But in the meantime, it is going to be the base, and it looks like they're looking to reset the game very shortly. Spice Life, he flashes forward, gets caught up, and it doesn't matter. Look at Night Warden disappearing. Look at Crazy disappearing, and everybody's all of a sudden gone. It is the magic show for World Class Hunters, and now it's going to be Nexus turrets next on the menu. The inhibitor falls as an afterthought to the minions, and the Nexus ultimately will fall in the favor of World Class Hunters.
And a perfectly orchestrated match here by the side of World Class Hunters. Spice Life showing his strength on the Maestro there, just conducting his team to victory. 10-0-7. That is not an okay scoreline.
You have got to ban this champion. You've got to play around this bot lane. You've got to do something to shut this down, because it felt like once the Jhin got ahead, it was just a series of no response available for backwards.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, to a certain extent, the entire team enabled Spice Life here. So you saw Rios putting the pressure, and Big Daddy Colton was also always a threat. And Ahop on this Zyra, my goodness, his scoreline 4-1-12 does not tell the story there. No one could reach Spice Life because, as you mentioned, all that greenery, Mother Nature itself was protecting Spice Life there, and literally no one could get to him at all. Famster, bro, the tankiest member on their team, tried at the end there, and you saw how quickly he went down. You talk about a magic show. One moment you had Renekton, next moment you had a new Crocodile Purse.
Yeah, he just completely disappeared, and really the unsung hero, like you mentioned, besides, I mean, everybody playing quite well of World Class Hunters that game, was Ahop, who denied so much access to the backline. I've never seen a Zyra played in such a defensive manner that worked out so well, because it was backwards being forced to make the plays. They were playing the game from behind and had to find a way back in, and couldn't against this Zyra, who had the luxury of laying out all of her beautiful plants before them. And right now it's going to be backwards who need to find a new way into this game. They tried playing this very aggressive style, or at least tried drafting the aggressive style, and it didn't look good on them. Maybe we see them revert to something different. Maybe we see them call back to a more traditional comp to try and keep themselves in this series.
Yeah, for sure. And to be fair to backwards, like you mentioned here, they drafted a very aggressive composition. And this is not the only play style they can play. We were talking a bit about, tank top laners, a bit more carry-oriented bot laners with a bit more range. So, they can do that. That's simply something we can consider, and they can. And so with that, that's something to look forward to in Game 2.
Yeah, we'll pop over to Game 2 very shortly here and catch you guys on the pro draft of that one to see what changes as we move into the rest of the series. Beautiful. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Game 2. We've had a few technical difficulties, so we're popping you straight into Pro Draft with Random Minion Caster, as well as myself, taking us into what was a rather strange, rather snowbally Game 1.
Yeah, I mean, strange and snowballing, but I actually really enjoyed it a lot. I liked what Backwards did despite their loss there, and I'm just hoping here in Game 2, they can sort of turn things backwards there and, find a win here.
Oh no, it's begun.
Sorry.
No, I like it. I appreciate it a lot because God knows I don't have the mind for it. And I need one. Right now, though, it looks like there's not a lot of adaptation coming out from either team here. With the exception of World Class, they've banned the Akali instead, which I think is an interesting pivot.
Yeah, and I mean, there are changes as well to Backwards draft here. They are banning out the Zyra, which I think is a huge actually ban because A-Hop on it was a monster. I don't think the Jhin is anywhere near as scary without the protection from the Zyra, so I really like that. The Akali and the Quinn as well. Them banning the Akali, I'm just trying to think, who are they really scared of for the Akali here? I think they are maybe looking to play a bit of a mobile carry in one of the lanes there, or maybe just the Orianna again is what they're thinking of here, because Akali right now considered globally sort of a soft counter to Orianna a bit.
Yeah, and obviously not having a lot of trouble with the Sylas last game. I think they might be considering first rounding Orianna to leave counterpick open for the AD carries. Kind of where my brain goes there, because otherwise it's something that was banned out last time in second phase, and then the Orianna was picked up. So there's the chance that it's just a little bit of a change in turn order, but World Class Esports, they're not thinking that at all. They want to go straight for this Lucian.
Yeah, so interesting here. I mean, Lucian, another bit of a flex pick globally here. So I like it, and they continue with the set. World Class right now. To be fair to World Class, I felt like their drop in Game 1 was really solid, and they're looking to continue their really strong drafting here in Game 2 as well with that sort of first early flex picks. What interests me more is what they're going to do with that fifth pick here. In Game 1, their last two picks were support and mid lane, so they actually saved their support really late. I want to see if they save it again for a counter pick in the bot lane to get Spice Life ahead, or they get to another lane, but that is going to be Corki in the mid lane here for Crazy, one of his most played champions.
And Corki is going to be crazy. I love seeing Corki in games because he's so consistent, and he puts out so much damage in the late game that he is another one of those champions that puts you on an artificial timer. Something like the Vladimir does the same thing. Corki, while not having that explosive potential, still absolutely crazy champion that sets up the game with these are our win conditions. This is what we want. They grab themselves the Ornn as well. It is heavy into the late game this time.
Yeah, and I think it makes a lot of sense. This is what we were talking about in Game 1 in terms of drafting. Pick like an Ornn, a top lane tank, a jungler who can make moves. That Olaf is fine with that. Corki a safe mid lane, which can skill a little bit better, I think, and is a little less risky than that melee Sylas, but for the class of World Class Esports, they're going World Class Hunters, pardon me, I keep calling them by the org name. The Nidalee pickup here for the side of Reals, pardon me. So I'm kind of liking this a lot because I mean Nidalee has seen so much play, but they've gone a complete reversal from Game 1. If you blank out the names again, it almost looks like we're seeing World Class Hunters on the blue side and Backwards on the red side here, because an early game draft versus a late game draft coming out.
I was just thinking that. I was like, this is so crazy. Do you think it's just like a red side curse that people see the red in their eyes, they become aggressive? Right now, the Nidalee, like you mentioned, being picked up, Lucian as well. Very, very heavy investment in Burst, in Snowball, and World Class Hunters maybe feeling like they took Game 1 in such a convincing fashion that they can snowball even harder in Game 2 with an earlier spike in composition.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, you'd be the expert on the red side here, Diatro.
Yeah.
So you tell me about the red side curse. But looking at the bans here, 3 bans thrown at the ADCs. I actually personally love it when the ADCs get banned out, because there's been a bit of a meta with Caitlyn, Senna, Ashe being the favorite picks, Jhin as well, specifically here for Tiari. So I'm very, very curious to see what they're going to do here. Is that Lucian going to go to Tiari? And if that's the case, what are we going to see Spice Life, other way around, the Lucian going to Spice Life, pardon me, not Tiari there. Then what is Tiari now going to pick instead? When most of the metas are out, Ashe can be picked, but it's not great, and instead they're looking at supports.
It's Taric and what? Taric and We know. We talked about it. It looks like it's going to be Tarek and Samira. That very same combo that you talked about earlier. Tarek ultimate, Samira ultimate. Huge combo potential here. Looking to enable Tiari on a pick that he was not enabled on at all last game.
I'm so happy to see this. Last game we spoke about Samira and Morgana, yes, the Black Shield combination, but that has nothing on a Cosmic Radiance. So I am super happy. Tiari doubling down. We talked about the ADCs and how both the ADCs for their respective teams are usually their main carry. So, I mean, it's a bit of, I like to see this, the attitude that, hey, I'm the ace of the team. I'm the main carry. I'm not going to back down here. I messed up game one. I'm coming in. I'm doubling down, but Aphelios coming through here. I mean, Aphelios is actually considered a hard counter to Samira. So Braum and Aphelios, oof, I don't think Tiari's going to have a fun time here.
This is so scary, and this is even more so going to be a matchup of the AD carries, because I thought going into this that we were going to get maybe a pivot, maybe we were going to get some more safety, some more laid back play for Tiari. It's not. It's the same. Run it down. You think that last game went poorly? You take that, you pull that Inferno trigger, you get into the middle of everyone, and Aphelios is going to be so happy with that. Braum, Aphelios standing between him and the Samira makes it so that Aphelios can just 1v9 everyone, and this is really where the rest of the composition for Backwards needs to pick up the slack.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, we already saw in game one there, if everybody's just collapsing around, Tiari can't really do anything. Now, my concern here is we're going to see more in the bot lane of what we saw in game one, where A-Hop and Spice Life just take over the lane. Tiari can't scale fast enough. And a full item ahead. A full item behind for Tiari for most of the game, and he couldn't do anything. And I'm concerned you're going to see that again, because Aphelios, like I said, hard counter Samira. Tarek, a great support for the team fights, but in lane, not necessarily the enabler to make action happen here. So it's going to be hard to punish the Aphelios. And if you let Aphelios get two items, the IE and the Runan's Hurricane, suddenly he becomes a monster in team fights. It becomes that much harder here for Backwards to execute.
And we don't see, I love the point that you bring up, because we don't see a lot of last pick AD carry. Very often it is those first couple picks where we see something like the Caitlyn, the Ashe, the Jhin, the Senna, and the fact that world-class hunters save the AD carry for last pick means that they can pick a situational AD carry like the Aphelios, who, when he's put in a position where he can succeed, once they have a view of the entire draft, can say, this guy, this is going to be the hyper carry to bring us success. And right now, very much Backwards have been put in a position where, once again, they've got to find success through this bot lane, but this time it's even more imperative.
Yeah, 100% there. And, I really give props to whoever's calling world-class hunters draft, whether it's Colton or Collins, because, I mean, it's been really solid drafting from them. That being said, though, their composition here is a little messy. You're not seeing a lot of cohesion here. You've got a Lucian, a Set, a Nidalee, Braum, Aphelios. There's not a lot of synergy between them. Instead, what you're seeing is just strength here. You've got the Nidalee who can get set ahead. You've got Lucian who wants to get ahead. So two really early game champions in the bot lane. Braum and Aphelios want to scale. So the map right now is being divided. The bot side wants to scale. The top side just needs to dump early, because when you come to the team fights, you're not going to get synergy. You're getting a lot of counters. Braum's Unbreakable will stop Samira's Inferno trigger, but other than that, they're not seeing a ton of synergy. You look over to the side of Backwards team composition. Their team composition's a lot simpler to execute. It has a game plan. Ornn wants to initiate with the Call of the Forge gone. Samira wants to go in with the Cosmic Radiance. Corki just sits in the back and goes pew pew the entire time, and Olaf just goes running in with that Sid Cosmic Radiance on Samira as well. So Backwards composition right now, a lot more cohesive, a lot stronger, and despite Aphelios scaling, I actually think I'd give the late game here to Backwards.
Yeah, and it's because of that very same synergy, and I think that when we talk about that synergy, so much onus for the game comes onto Night Warden on the Tarek, because the Cosmic Radiance is a part of everybody's combo, with the exception of Ornn, who can kind of do his own thing, does have to start the fight, doesn't need the Cosmic Radiance to live. Everybody else on the side of Backwards need that Tarek ultimate to be on point for what they want to do. You want to have Olaf and Samir going in at the same time. Famster needs to be on top of that, and there's so many things that need to come together here, but when they do, it is oh so beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, really, the key thing is just the Cosmic Radiance. Like you said, Ornn can kind of survive. Famster, bro, if he doesn't get the Cosmic Radiance, it's not the end of the world. If Coldream doesn't get the Cosmic Radiance, also not the end of the world. We saw Reels kind of running in, especially later game. So while there's a lot of little technical components which could go wrong, the core of backwards composition just comes down to Night Warden pressing R at the right time, which is why I really like how easy it is to execute for them, as long as TRE can get in there and survive. Whereas, like I said, you look at World Class and there's just so many little finicky things. They have to get everything just right if they don't stomp the early game. And with a Lucian Nidalee set, I mean, the top side right now does look heavily World Class favored.
It really does, and I think the other thing that I want to bring up very quickly as we're loading in is that everybody is AD except for the Nidalee, and this is kind of the perfect situation to draft the Nidalee as well. I really like the way that World Class Hunters have set themselves up, but like you say, even with that draft, they've put themselves at what is a little bit of an execution disadvantage, because when you compare Nidalee and Olaf in a team fight, there is no question as to who has the simpler job, and these two junglers and the execution specifically in the team fights is what I want to keep an eye on as we get into the game. But before we do, I do want to throw you guys all a word from our partners over at the United Esports Association. They are a Kansas-based company that oversees a lot of products and specialize and operate as a dynamic pipeline within the esports industry, providing shared experiences that directly serve collegiate, youth, hobbyists, and amateur video game players at every stage, like us. Starting as a small student group out of Wichita University, since then, UEA has grown to be a veteran organizer in tournaments and events throughout the US, and they host tournaments for games like League of Legends, exactly like this one, Rocket League, and Overwatch. And for more information, I'd recommend checking them out at uea.gg. We'll see you on the Rift. You're good. Summoners and Summonettes, welcome back to the Rift. I promised you guys at the end of the Pro Draft, and I've joined you once again with Random Minion Caster. He is safe in our hands as Red is running down World Class Hunters. Looks like they want to get off to an explosive start to this game, and Random Minion Caster, I could not be happier about it.
Definitely. I mean, they did this game one, why not game two? And they've got TRE running for the hills right off the bat in this game. They're trying to reinforce the fear, give him some PTSD, and they're just going hard into the jungle here.
It's about sending a message, it really is. Nidalee is running them down, throwing spears, and as much as we're not going to see a kill here, really, Tiari being forced out of his jungle so early on by so much aggression has got to set the pace for this game, and I think that's really what it's about for world-class hunters.
Yeah, and I mean, they did send a message, but there is a price to this, because if you look at the top side right now, it's lit up like a Christmas tree here. They have all the vision they need. You can see Famster, Cole, and Crazy all just sitting there. They're looking to try and get something, and Hermie, Reels, and Big Daddy Colton have to be careful here. They will spot them out.
Nice scouting spear there as well. Clears the brush and pushes backwards out of the top side jungle. Is going to secure the red buff for the Nidalee. As we took over to this 130 mark, it means that backwards they know exactly where Nidalee has started. And Olaf, he gets a little bit of a slower start.
Yeah, and that's actually going to affect his lanes as well. You can see Famster Bro. Actually, Famster Bro not going to leash for him there. So I think they make the call, sacrifice Cold Dream a little bit there. Olaf will be fine. The lower his health gets, the faster he clears anyway. So it'll be risky, but he'll be okay as long as Reels doesn't show up.
It looks like Reels has no plans to play this one passive. Had enough last game with playing into the Ivor and wants some of his own here. And I want to see the assistance pings do come out onto the Nidalee, and it means that she's got to back off, but does lose lane pressure.
She missed. Reels missed.
Reels missed. Oh, he's on the backside. Take us back, spectator cam. I need to see this fight, but it looks like there's no actual fight going on because Real's going to burn his flash instead. Invades and loses the summoner for it.
Yeah, I mean, that was a pounce and flash missed by Reels there twice, and they keep on going. Reels turning back.
Golly, there's no way to answer this aggression because Nidalee can just sit there next to you. Olaf has the range here, and Cal, he is the one who needs to be able to find an answer to it. Cannot, and it means that Nidalee claims control of his top side jungle. This is massive. 8 farm to 4, and more importantly, the tempo completely in the favor of the Nidalee.
That just completely messed up Cold Dream's day here. He's kind of stepped behind. I think he smited early there, and that's what gave Reels the opportunity to come back in and really steal that one there. And to be fair, both junglers now are actually further behind in their path than they would normally like. So that actually doesn't work out too badly here for the side of backwards, because they're the ones who want a bit of time to scale. So if Reels is set behind, he'll be perfectly fine.
Yeah, right now, with Reels being behind, but importantly, a little bit ahead of the Olaf, is going to have a little bit of a buffer as now the invade comes in. Colton is here to back him up, and they're going to burn the flash out of Cold Dream and now be able to potentially rotate into the red buff. We could see a fight here.
Yeah, I mean, everybody seems to be heading down there from the bot lane here, so it's a question of who gets there first. And you can see Spice Life just doesn't want to leave the bot lane here. He's the scaling of Philios. You know, I had just spoken about backwards scaling across their composition. Well, that's not true for Spice Life, the one exception. So rather than try and do this, he just wants to farm it up, but they just keep abandoning the jungle, and Cold Dream's going to get set further behind because everybody left, and Real's now pulling this red out.
This is working in every single lane. The fact that he gets the pressure off the red keeps Olaf off of that camp, even though he doesn't secure it himself, is such an immense time sink for the side of backwards. You saw, like you mentioned, the Aphelios getting free farm. Yeah, it doesn't matter because he's only at 30s, yes, but it's still going to start stacking up if this lane pressure keeps getting pulled away from backwards by Real's constant invades.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, red buff actually stays alive. There was the winner of that tussle. Cold Dream leaving his own jungle.
Flash forward from Colton as Crazy. He stays a little bit too long there. The aggression from Big Daddy in the mid lane will end up getting the kill.
And okay, this is the second time Big Daddy's pulled that kind of play where just out of nowhere he bursts, and this time he does it so quickly it fools the spectator camera, which was still showing us Rio's invade. They're still thinking Rios is fighting here. I mean, Rios does finally get the red buff, hooray for Rios, but first blood coming through from Big Daddy Colton, that's huge because Lucian needs to get ahead, and what better way to get ahead than first blood in your pocket?
And I wonder what sort of build we see with him getting ahead as well, because he has a little bit of a luxury now. Hermie, though, he's been taking some pretty awkward trades in the top side. Caldream, oh, look at him. He's struggling for significance right now, and Spice Life is having a field day. Flash forward, though. They want to punch this flash away from Spice Life. Doesn't have the life steal just yet. Tiari, he's right on top of him, will end up almost getting the kill. Night Warden takes it instead, and Tiari, he just wants something, but can't get onto A-Hop under the tower. They've got to crash this wave.
And this is the Tiari we wanted and was hoping to see. But top side, another potential guy coming through here.
That spear falls just short, and that means Famster, he knows the Nidalee is in the top side. The question is, can he do anything about it? As the spear will hit him, and they can just keep this guy down. Doesn't have the level 6 anyway. The sad kitten gonna come out. They know there's nothing he can do about it. Reels tanks up the tower. He's on his way back anyway and grabs himself a kill. And now it's a 1k gold lead already for World Class Hunters.
Yeah, I mean, World Class is doing well, but they are going to lose themselves that bot side pressure. And with that, the all-important Ocean Drake as well, that most powerful of first Drake. So this time, even though there is a bit of a gold lead snowballing for World Class, Backwards having a much more solid early game thus far here, and should be fine to continue scaling up for now.
Yeah, and it's a question of whether they're going to be allowed that space, because World Class Hunters, in their first 3 picks, they've drafted themselves some very, very aggressive stuff, and Nidalee has been having a field day with this Olaf.
Yeah, you know, speaking of sort of mismatches we're seeing here, one thing we haven't quite looked at was Hermie getting that kill in the top lane. Another thing to look at is actually the CS differential here, because that isn't off the kill. That is off Hermie just winning his lane here before Reels even showed up. He's almost double Famster Bro CS, was actually double right up to a moment ago here. So Hermie's doing really well for himself top lane. Big Daddy Colton's doing great in the mid lane as well, and that means Rios is now free to continue hunting that Viking or try and swing the bot lane as well. I mean, we did see that was where they did manage to find a kill, so they can look to try and swing that bot lane in their favor as well.
And even Spice Life has been doing quite well for himself. Is up CS into what is arguably a very early game AD carry that has the potential to snowball. Fortunately, he has the BF sword, but Colton, he's won his lane and he's roamed down. It looks like the tower dive might come out, but reconsidering it, they are on the side of World Class Hunters, as we have a little bit of zone out. The wave not going to be quite enough. Hermie, though, he wants this kill, does have the Bilgewater Cutlass to slow down Famster. I don't think you get away today, my friend. Haymaker not going to do as much damage without the inbuilt grit there. Fades away, and it means that Famster manages to get away with his life.
One thing we kind of didn't note there in all of that was that Big Daddy Colton roaming down to the bot lane wasn't so much a roam as trying to match his AD carry there, because it was Crazy who actually rotated down to that bot lane first, and they actually sent Tiari into the mid lane instead. You know, we were talking about Samira mid. Well, this is what happens.
Yeah, this might be a little bit better, as Tiari, the Inferno trigger, going to take down Big Daddy Colton. It's not what you expect with the experience being as it is, but Tiari, he pops off there, gets himself a kill, and gets himself the mid lane push. This is a crazy innovation.
Yeah, I mean, that's the reason why you sometimes see Samira mid, especially into the Lucian, because her skills just counter so perfectly. The Blade Whirl, good luck trying to cull through that, basically a wind wall there, and the Inferno trigger as well lets her move around, dodging sort of that static culling while getting the damage off as well. The range for Lucian puts him squarely in danger range as well, so they might just continue to try and send Tiari to wherever Big Daddy Colton is going to. It's so much better. I mean, it's a bit of a counter matchup in favor of yourself compared to the counter matchup you have where Aphelios counters you in the bot lane, and that's what I expect to continue seeing here.
Yeah, I actually really like it, and we're seeing exactly that same thing. Tiari, he's roaming up to the, or I don't even want to say roaming up, he's returning to the mid lane, as it looks like with the tier on the Corki, they're putting the Corki in this sort of farm lane that has been established with the Taric, has a lot of safety with the Valkyrie, and it's going to be Spice Life scaling up at the exact same pace. I like this adaptation because it's 2 AD carries that need to snowball in the mid lane, and the bot lane it's 2 AD carries that want to scale. It's very heads up play from Backwards.
Yep, and I mean, while Backwards has sort of recovered the damage that they were losing in the mid bot lane here, they are still suffering the top side. You can see right now, Cold Dream being forced out again, not yet level 6 at this point. No Ragnarok available, and Reels here, we've not been seeing Reels gank too much because he spent the entire time hunting down Cold Dream, and he's just been punishing Cold Dream over and over and over again. It's going to get them a free Herald to boot as well, because Cold Dream completely forced out Famster, once more being stuck into lane. Big Daddy Colton can't come out to help, but I don't think Tiari wants any piece of that without a bit of backup. It
makes me wonder what on earth Cold Dream did to Reels in real life, because this is absolutely brutal. And I mean, Hermie, he's doing well in his lane, but Reels, he's got a vendetta. Takes away that Rift Herald like you mentioned, and I fully expect that we see a lot more dueling before the day is done, just in the jungle pressure.
Yeah, and I mean, dueling is what we're going to get. We already said in the first place that world-class Hunters composition here, that is all they want to do. Win the lane, you know, dominate that sort of thing. And we're now seeing coordinated backs here from Big Daddy Colt and Spice Life and A-Hop here. So the question is, are they going to continue sending Aphelios with that Braum? Because a lot of Aphelios' strength over the likes of Samira comes from the fact that he has a bit of help. 1v1, it's a lot riskier here. That being said, the item thresholds do match a bit better. Big Daddy Colton did just pick up the Manamune though, so once that definitely scales up and completes, then, well, he'll be a lot more equipped to handle Tiari. Instead, it's going to be a fight over Dragon.
Ooh, yeah, Reels gets stunned up at the start of that one, but it's a fight for positioning. With the coordinated backs, though, it means that everybody from World Class Hunters is already here. Famster's still making his way over.
Yeah, and we see the teleport coming down as well from Famster, so he's already here.
It's his job to start the fight here. This is where the ease of execution comes in, and the package is available for Crazy as well. A little bit of an awkward Oranhorn is going to turn into something, but A-Hop denies it completely, takes a bunch of damage in return. The set's in the back line. In the meantime, buying up a lot of space, has the Haymaker available. Might be able to take down Famster. The Inferno trigger, he gets pulled in the back line. Spice Life is 1v1ing Tiari, and he wins it just barely. It's actually the even trade with Big Daddy Colton helping out. Double kill for the Samira. Big Daddy Colton and Reels, they're still on this Dragon. No jungler on the opposition, but Reels gets taken down by a flash from Night Warden. Big Daddy Colton dashes in, secures the Dragon, secures the kill onto the Ornn, and now is just trying to get away with his life. Caldream is chasing him down. Big Daddy Colton should be able to get away here, has the kite available. Teleport being channeled here is going to secure a bot lane push, but nothing more.
Spice Life, main carry, best ADC. Well, you've got a challenge from your own team. Big Daddy Colton showing up big with his ADC plays as well. And that fight, it looked so good initially for the side of backwards. Well, I should say initially, it was a good fight for the side of backwards. Night Warden did get that Cosmic Radiance initiate that we were looking for there. And that was what won them that fight. Tiari starting to pop up. This was what we expected from Tiari Samira in game one that never really got to pop off. But you're seeing it pop off here. 3-1-2 in that fight. He basically triple killed. One of them got robbed. I didn't see who quite got that extra kill. That should have been his, but that was basically a triple kill from Tiari there. And Big Daddy Colton came back huge. I still can't believe they lost the Dragon there, because Cold Dream was still alive and up. So the fact that they couldn't get that's gonna hurt a lot for them.
It's going to be very, very difficult right now because Olaf, you know, he wants those first two dragons, and now Spice Life being rotated into the mid lane. They want to shut this Samira down before she gets anything else done. Importantly, inject gold into everybody. Reels, he gets 320 of those 320 gold. No gold spread to Spice Life or A-Hop either. It means that it's just an investment into this Nidalee. We'll have to see if they can make that pay off.
Yeah, and that's the risky part about giving Nidalee all the gold there. Yes, Nidalee can get incredibly strong. Not to mention, as you said in Pro Draft, she is the only AP damage really for the side of World Class Hunters, but she does fall off hard here. So investing so heavily in her, Reels has to make something count. Hunting and keeping Cold Dream down is all well and good, but that won't last forever. So we'll have to see what they can make happen here with all of this. We do see them fighting over the top sides. Herald won't be here for another 2 minutes, so there's no real major objectives for the little while, and that's going to serve to World Class Hunters' side here, where they just want isolated lanes.
Yeah, and it's very much an extension of what has already been happening, because as much as the real objective in the top side, the Scuttle Crab goes down, and we realize that it's the support as well as the jungler committed there for just that small objective. Reels has not wanted to give even an inch over this game, and I really like the way that he's been playing this and the way that it's affected the map as a whole.
Yeah, completely. I mean, he's done so well so far, but topside, that was such a funny interaction. I mean, you can't apparently stop the searing charge with the showstopper, so I guess it's not a charge stopper on that ultimate, and that's gonna hurt Hermes a lot there, because that's an ultimate gone.
And actually, Hermes is in a little bit of danger here. Has the Haymaker still, but goes down to sub 100 HP. Could just be taken down by the Oranhorn here, but it will miss onto Hermes. A-Hop not even stopping that one, but Famster Bro doesn't get the kill either, and they're going to be happy with that for now, because without Hermes full item complete, can't actually match up here.
That being said, he does have some gold in his pocket. Should be able to complete that Blade of the Ruin King on his Nyx's back, and what does pick up the Blade of the Ruin King here, then he can start really bullying Famsterbro a little bit. Right up to the moment Famsterbro gets a bit of healing cut or chain bets.
Speaking of bullying, though, in the bot lane, Crazy gonna be taking a full culling to the face and a spear. Real snipes him down, and the Corki gonna be shut down, gonna be put behind even further. Real's in a little bit of trouble here. No flash available from Night Warden means that he manages to stay alive. But I've wanted to touch on the fact. What looks like we're just going to continue fighting here. Caldream, it's a game of commitment here. But Tiari, he wants to fight for sure. Inferno Trigger can get pulled here. Reels on just an auto's worth of HP going to be taken down. Now it's the S tier. Tiari, he's hunting for Big Daddy Colton, but the stacks are going to fall off in no time. Going to be able to get away is this Lucian. Tiari, though, he picks himself up another kill.
He picks up another kill, but he gives first turret over in that mid lane because when he roamed down to help, Spice Life got some alone time with that already low health mid lane turret. Now the Infinity Edge completed, the Cull also fully stacked here. He's just going to be looking to start building his Zeal item here.
This is a game of whether you can play around Spice Life right now. Night Warden, though, he gets the stun. Caldream, he's chasing him down. The Unbreakable gonna buy a little bit of time. But Spice Life, he does not have the life steal to sustain through this. Crazy will take him down, and Ahop is left alone without an AD carry.
It's so back and forth right now. It felt like world-class hunters were, were coming back maybe a little bit, and now suddenly they throw in the bot, they throw in the mid a little bit, and it's suddenly backwards coming in all the right spots here. You can see that Reels right now has to be careful. He's past that point where he wasn't actually ever really that strong. He looked strong in comparison to Cold Dream, but we have to remember all that early jungling, that trading, that fighting actually set him behind a little bit. So not getting influence into your other lanes, I feel like was really a loss for the side of world-class hunters now. And now we do see the Dragon and Tiari.
Oh, Tiari's actually not spotted right now. He's actually a secret mission in the backside, has infiltrated, and now he's going to turn straight onto the Drake. They just want to burn it down, does backwards before anything can happen. Tiari, he's onto Big Daddy Colton, but he's busted everything that he has, gets shut down, 450 gold, and Spice Life is not under any threat from this Olaf. Suddenly, it is going to be backwards, hammed into this Dragon Pit. Big Daddy Colton goes on a killing spree, dashes over the wall, looking for more. Night Warden and Crazy, they want to punish this, get the stun, but Spice Life, he flashes over to secure the life of his mid laner, gets a double kill for Big Daddy Colton, and now Crazy needs to be the one to get away, has the blast cone here, barely manages to get it. Reels needs to look for that spear. Will he be able to find it over the wall? Yes, he gets it, gets the ace onto backwards there, and world-class hunters, they get themselves the dragon, and they absolutely once again send a message to backwards.
With the fadeaway spear as well, and suddenly world-class hunters firing back here. And you spoke about committing in the bot lane, Diatripa. Tiari has no problems with commitment, whether it be for good or for ill, because that commitment into 3 members did not end up well. He was so tunneled on Big Daddy Colton there that it just did not work out. I think that was basically what just cost them the fight. And now the question becomes, can they protect Tiari again? Because that time he went in, no Cosmic Radiance, it cost them the fight. Maybe next fight, if they get the Cosmic Radiance down, we see a very different outcome. But they do, for now, lose the Dragon and are looking like they might lose the Herald as well.
Yeah, there's really no way for the Olaf to be walking into this, even though he is, even with the Nidalee-ish, he's way far behind Big Daddy Colton, and Real's gonna swoop in here for the Ripped Herald, but there's the Cosmic Radiance that's popped. We want to get a fight here for backwards. Ahop trying to disengage right now, doesn't have any mana to his name. Windwall gonna come in, Big Daddy Colton, he dashes in, gets the Terra, gets the Samira, will be shut down by the Ornn in the end, but Spice Life has shown up now. This is the slow rotation that we saw last game. Doesn't have the attack speed just yet, but Bamster, he's making DPS down slowly but surely. I believe we get the disengage here as Spear will land. Crazy, he's in a lot of trouble, but is going to be able to get away with his life. The bot lane is where the story's really being told right now.
They're just pushing on both sides right here. They effectively won themselves a 3v4 followed by a 4v4 there. Like, they just win on both sides of the map. And world class right now, every time you think they're out, they just fire back on all cylinders right now. And you're starting to see the tag over from Big Daddy Colton to Spice Life. Big Daddy Colton going in. He did give up the bounty there to Famster Bro, which is possibly one of the better people you could give it over to. And then you just see Spice Life showing up, and now he's got damage, he's got his Zeal, not the completed Zeal item, but it's enough to push everybody else off. And I think there's no vision. They're going to get a free Baron.
Yeah, it's going to be Night Warden right now spotting this out, but the rotation is going to be way too late from everyone else. Night Warden going to be forced to watch the big purple ward be taken away from his team, and the back's going to be uncontested. It's a reset from World Class Hunters. They get so much off that, though. That started at the Dragon, and it's taken them all the way to Baron.
Yeah. Dragon, 2 turrets, top and bottom, and the Baron to boot. And that's why we suddenly see a 9,000 gold lead coming through for the side of World Class Hunters. I don't remember what the gold lead was at this point in 20 minutes of game 1, but I don't think it was quite as big.
It was not near 10k. It was nowhere near it. And right now, World Class Hunters, because of the scaling they have in their composition as well, it feels so much better for them when compared to where they were last game, where yes, they felt comfortable, they didn't have enough Aphelios.
And I am concerned about the Nidalee falling off, but right now it's been just more than answered by the Aphelios scaling for now. That being said, we look over to the side of backwards, and we did say that they've got more skillings on their team, and they certainly still have ways back into the game here, such as catching a Braum.
Yeah, it looks like it's a catch onto the Braum, but there are 4 members there walking into the river and going to be spotted out on a ward. Means that Night Warden and Cal, they cannot engage here. It's going to be the mid lane turret being DPS down to tier 2, looking at risk of falling. Reels is taking up the turret, and I like the Athene's itemization that he's gone. He's trying not to fall off because he's going to be trying to support Spice Life even more as the game goes on.
Sometimes there's criticism. I believe Spico got criticized for an Athene's build. That's true if you've got a low damage composition, but in a composition like this, they've got damage in space. They've got a Lucian, they've got a Aphelios. They're fine for damage. You, like you said, in order to not fall off and become useless late game, this is what you do. Now, we can see that they're just pushing in. They've got better siege as well. They've got Baron buff. They can just keep sieging up, and backwards right now have to hard initiate in order to try and stop this push, or they're just going to slowly bleed out and hemorrhage themselves to death here.
Oh, speaking of hemorrhaging, Night Warden his health bar again disappears. We're seeing another magic show put on by world-class magicians in the mid game. Right now it's only at that 22-minute mark, but already they're putting up the late game performance that we saw last time with so much damage out of Big Daddy Colton and Reels there. Night Warden not long for the world at all, and his Cosmic Radiance is so integral to the team fight. Base going to be broken already.
Yeah, that's actually one thing I wanted to mention when I was talking about the initiate before they got engaged on, was that they need Night Warden there. Without him, the composition doesn't work. With him, though, a 10k gold lead is still surmountable if you can burst somebody down fast enough before the invincibility wears off. But it's a do or die at this point. They have to make a play, and make a play soon, or they're just going to slowly lose out, and that already 12k almost gold lead is just going to keep on snowballing.
And Tiari is still so strong, but isn't not going to just managed to dash and get the Cosmic Radiance, but it means that he's nowhere near the backline right now. Can't pop up. Inferno trigger gonna be pulled, but it only is onto the Braum. That the Unbreakable is gonna flash straight onto the Aphelios, though. Wants to shut down the backline, gets exhausted. Tiari, he is the hero, but he's gonna be taken down. Herbie manages to punch him right in the face, even without the haymaker. It is still Big Daddy Colton around for the AD carry job, and is going to be able to take down this turret if they want. It looks like the push is going to be into the mid lane, though.
You know, Tiari might have been a hero, but even heroes die there. There's just no backup. Night Warden using that Cosmic Radiance, I think, a little too prematurely. Famster Bro was backing off, and maybe he was trying to keep Famster alive, but either way there, it cost them that fight, and this could be game end.
It's the commit onto the Nexus here, and there's not enough damage from Crazy, yet he hasn't scaled up. World-class Hunters, they put on a clinic in early game compositions, and they bring themselves a 2-0.
I'm just shocked at how decisively they ended that. That was incredible. They pushed in, they saw the chance. You know, they just went, we're just going to do this. We're just going to push in and just end the game at this point here. And they do so well for themselves. That is absolutely amazing finish. And, you know, again, I just want to bring out to the point that we say that Spice Life, the ADCs, Tiari and Spice Life, are the main carries for the teams, well, World Class Hunter now showing that Big Daddy Colton can do the exact same thing. Give him an ADC, he'll show Spice Life who's boss here.
It was so insane from a mid laner that, like we talked about when we went into this series, thought was going to be quite passive. It ended up being just the pop-off story in the mid lane, flashing in for the kill, ending up picking up slack whenever Spice Life was under threat, meant that DPS never slowed down for World Class Hunters, and as they approached the late game, even with the Manamune Lucian, they managed to just have way too much damage, overwhelm the side of what was a very, very bursty backwards.
I mean, especially that mid lane, when you've got two Muramana or Manamune champions there, the Corki and the Lucian, whoever hits that first is an advantage. And Big Daddy Colton hit that real early there. The macro play, the lane swap especially, that was absolutely brilliant from the side of World Class Hunters. That being said, we shouldn't discount backwards too much. I mean, they were 2-0 before this, and they drop a game. Frankly, I think it's a very well-deserved win from World Class here, so it does not cast any shade at all on backwards. Tiari with those hero plays at the end, he shows he really can pop off. I mean, a 10k, 11k deficit, and Tiari almost turns the fight. Backwards is still a really, really strong team here.
And I really like the identity and the clear practice that they've put into Samira. This is a composition that can succeed. It just happened to be a day thing, right? And we really saw that World Class Hunters were able to put up the performances necessary. Tiari also very clearly being able to put up carry performances if he is given that space, and I look forward to him being given that space in the future. For right now, though, that is all that we have tonight because of the clean 2-0 sweep. So I want to thank you, Random Minion, for joining me on the cast, because it has been a crazy night. And I want to thank Finnick for being our producer here. A little finicky here and there, but he really gets the job done here at UJL. And most importantly, thank you all of you for joining us and celebrating these teams, celebrating these players here. I look forward to seeing you at Upsurge in the future. But until next time, that's been all from us.